How does the City of New York organize or facilitate the Muslim festival, the Sacrifice Festival? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you know, we do not. Eid al-Adha, so we don't do that. I learned that actually you do that here in Antwerp. We, the City of New York, would not coordinate. We do lots of celebration of our immigrant communities, and the mayor annually hosts an iftar, Ramadan, during the month of Ramadan. We have a dinner at the mayor's home for leaders of the Muslim community. And the Muslim community does call to prayer inside inside his home and prays. Actually, it's a very moving experience for the community and for the mayor actually. But we do not do the sacrifice. That actually happens in communities. We don't facilitate it, and we don't do it.
Are people allowed to slaughter a sheep at home?
So we have lots of butchers and actual where you can go and pick your chicken, and I buy my chicken in the supermarket, so I don't know.
Yeah. And
I know that when I was a kid, my father would go, and my husband and I'm Muslim, if you haven't figured this out by now. We're happy to give money to someone to take care of it.
But I guess that somebody has already explained the situation in Antwerp.
I'm very impressed, actually, that is done. This might be sensitive. I think that there's probably opportunity to have a more, actually to probably figure out how to make money. The community should figure out how to make money out of this, not actually lose the city. But just from an economic development perspective, right, you could rent some space and do this, and not necessarily rely on city resources. I do think it's an incredibly good faith effort by the city to help accommodate this. But that's where I think perhaps, I would, if someone asked me that question as the Commissioner of Immigrant Affairs, I would say, I'm sorry, no. If someone said, we'd like to do this, I'd say no, but I'd call someone who runs a business that does this, and I would introduce them to help them facilitate this.
Have you also been told that with this Sacrifice Festival, actually it's an exception to the law, to the legislation? Normally animals, sheep, should be slaughtered with anesthesia. In this case, it's allowed for the Muslim families to do this without anesthesia. Actually, it's an exception to the law. Could you imagine something like that in New York? I mean,
we do tons of things that are crazily exceptional to the law, right?
Mm-hmm. Like for instance?
That's the finesse of law, right? It's all subject to interpretation.
Like for instance?
Nothing that I could point to. What do we do that might be an exception to the law?
I mean, you really, in this case, this is about accommodating a certain community with their specific...
But I bet that if there was a conversation, right, so if there's a decision that's been made, and I bet that if the city were more responsible in serving the community in different ways, the community would be happy to figure this out on their own, right? But it has to be that the city of Antwerp is going to be willing to help them in other ways, right? Mm-hmm. And so I do think, this is going to be, I think there's a money-making opportunity here, in that there are probably leaders in the Muslim community who could figure out how to make money out of this, right? And I think that the city of Antwerp could easily help facilitate that and back out of this. Now, I'm not suggesting that, so forgive me, everybody. This sounds like I'm going to cause a debate when this is over.
No, it's
my friends and colleagues. But there is...
Are you saying perhaps that the city of Antwerp is making it too easy for the
I would never say something like that, because I think there are things you should be doing that I don't think are being done. And so I would love to push you, as another city, that there are better ways to facilitate integration, and there are better ways to celebrate your communities. And if this is one way that you thought that the city of Antwerp thinks is feasible, now I know cultural nuance. I grew up in it. I live it. I know the importance of how tradition really matters in immigrant communities, but I also know what respect and celebration can be, right? And I know that when someone looks me in the face and tells me that I care about you and your faith and your experience, and I'm going to help you figure this out, then I know what's true and what's not true, right? And so I think that there is an honesty that can, and an engagement experience with the Muslim community that I bet could be far better than just accommodation. But we had the Muslim community in our city ask of the mayor to accommodate our school would close on Muslim school holidays, on Muslim holidays. So one day for Eid al-Adha and one day for Eid al-Fitr. And prior to this position, I was the senior advisor on education. I advised the mayor as the senior advisor, advising him on education. When that request came, it came to me, a Muslim woman with children in the school system. My responsibility as an official in government and as an advisor is to advise. And so we looked at what would that mean. With 1.1 million kids in the school system, we estimate that nearly 10% are Muslim. And we cannot estimate other than languages spoken at home, right? We don't ask people their religious affiliation, so we don't know. So the estimation is that maybe 100,000 kids in the school system would be impacted by this. And so my recommendation was that we do not add the school holidays to our calendar. What was an opportunity for us to realize was that the Muslim community mobilized and organized themselves in such a profoundly wonderful way that they felt American enough and a part of New York City enough that they would feel comfortable enough to come to the mayor of the city of New York and ask him if they can get recognized. And so we said, to displace 1 million kids and parents who have to find accommodation for those kids would be an undue hardship. With that said, we will look at the numbers and the data of the school districts and the school buildings your children go to. You can help us, and we will speak with those principals and those superintendents, and we will say to them, on those given days, please be mindful of attendance, no exams given, and no special events, no going on trips, right? We want to be, what do we want to do? We want to provide access and opportunity. It's not about undue hardship. Right? And being mindful about how do we create policies that do that, that was how we responded. Not everyone loved it, but people understood it. Because if we gave this community an opportunity, the next day, I had the Asian community knocking on my door saying, we want Asian Lunar New Year off. We want kids in school more, not less. We want people to feel part of our community, not less. And so how do we do that responsibly?